Hey, this is Nancy Gale with JAMAH Luxury Handbags and Ambition, our nonprofit for disadvantaged teenagers. If you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend Scott Ferguson. Let's level up.
Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and you want to have a really excuse my language, badass entrepreneur female, then stay tuned. Her name is Nancy Gale. She starts a very luxury handbag business called JAMAH, but she also leans into the youth. She has a foundation called ambition.org. This podcast interviews maybe a little bit longer than what you're used to, but you're going to want to hear Nancy's full story. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but the murder of her mother, she was raped when she was younger, but how she used the lessons and the perseverance to push through to where she is now. I have pages and pages of notes that I took from either re-listening to it or just in the moment that I took. So I know that you're going to walk away. You're going to have to smash the like button or the subscribe button for my sponsors on this. They'll really appreciate it. But seriously, squad, it is an amazing, amazing chat that I had with Miss Nancy Gale. So without further ado, sit back, relax, break out your notebooks, because again, here comes my good friend Nancy Gale from JAMAH Luxury Handbags and ambition.org. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson. I was just off the mic, kind of getting to know a good friend, now good friend, Nancy Gale, who's introduced to me by my business crush out there, Miss Van Lai. And this is going to be a fun conversation. We're both just kind of discovered we both have some Midwest roots. Both of us, she's over on the left coast out in California. I'm over here on the East Coast. And we just had a really fun conversation about how we mesh kind of our thought processes and our persistence and resilience. And Nancy Gale is the founder and designer of luxury leather handbag brand JAMAH. She also founded Ambition, a nonprofit entrepreneurial program for the disadvantaged youth. Nancy's embraced her role as a leader by speaking at universities, for organizations, and on podcasts, weaving together remarkable stories from her professional and personal lives, including challenges such as rape and losing her mother in a brutal murder. With her journey of resilience and perseverance, Nancy is dedicated to inspiring and motivating entrepreneurs of today and tomorrow. And Miss Nancy, what a story. Thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. But first, love, what is your favorite color and why?
Yellow.
Yellow. And why?
It's happy and fun and bright.
And like about 4 of those handbags back there kind of have a little yellow hue to it as well. So this is awesome.
For quite some time now, yellow has been the new black in fashion. So.
You know what? I have no idea what you're talking about, but now that you say, I live in Palm Beach, okay? So it's like Worth Ave is here, and probably I'm sure your purses might be on Worth Ave, but it's like I see a lot of yellow now you think about it. So I just don't have the eye for it. So tell me, you have 2 of my favorite words with perseverance and resilience, right? And obviously you went through quite a story, and I'd like to get to the roots and only sharing what you're comfortable with sharing, but I'd like to kind of get to the roots to kind of where you started to where you lived a life of service, a total go-giver, but to where you're at now.
Where am I now? Gosh, I am at and this can every day. I always say every morning I get out of the shower and I say, God, that was the best shower I've ever had.
Right.
So today I can say I'm at the most exciting place and some really interesting sort of fantastical crossroads with JAMAH and Ambition. And again, something can come up tomorrow where that will be the most exciting time.
Right.
But we just, in the last 2 months, JAMAH turned 25.
Wow.
Ambition turned 15.
Wow.
And so there's substance to what we're doing. We have this the true foundation. And what happens also at those numbers is everybody takes you seriously, which
so
helps,
true.
Right? The growth becomes just exponential.
Right. It's so funny you say that because, when I was younger, my background is real estate investing. I owned a lot of properties, and I was also a real estate broker. And I remember I got started in 1997, which I would have been 25, right? 26. And like people would be like, how long you been in the business? And my best comeback would be, seems like a lifetime, right? Like that's what I would say. But now, when you have almost 30 years under your belt, people are like, I become kind of like a silverback, like the gorilla, the lead, where people will come to me, the younger generation and the older generation, where I'm not quite too old and I'm not too young, so they take us seriously, right? So
Mm.
that's what the maturity of your brands. So
Yeah.
can we dig a little bit into kind of your roots? Kind of, I heard the R word in there and the M word, and if you're comfortable kind of talking about that and how you
Yeah.
use maybe some of those obstacles to navigate through life and really build what you have built right now, which is super impressive.
Thank you. So it's interesting when I describe my life, I say I have this extremely charmed life.
Yeah.
I feel like I had just an abundance of opportunity around me. But what I learned as time went on is that none of that means that we haven't endured challenges. And my life has definitely taught me that my challenges do not dictate my constitution and that I can hold two truths. So, and I'll in a moment, I'll get into those challenges. But when I've noticed through my life, whenever I've gone through something tricky, people will say to me, I don't know how you put on that brave, happy face. And what I came to learn was that like I'm happy Nancy. That's just who I am.
Love it.
And when I'm going through these challenges, I'm still happy Nancy going through those challenges. So this sort of realization of holding true truths has been so amazing for me because my constitution is to have this strength and this joy and this happiness. And I've learned that that's exactly what's going to help me through any situation.
Love that.
And that nobody is going to take away my joy and my happiness. I'm conscious and diligent and vigilant about that.
Yeah.
And so I thought the best gift in the world is that people look at me and they don't see the teenager whose mother spent the better part of 4 years in the hospital in and out of a coma. They don't see the 25-year-old who was walking down a lovely street in New England and attacked and raped. And they don't see the woman who a little over 10 years ago, whose mother was murdered in a home invasion. They get to see me and who I am, and all of those things are a part of me, but they don't own me.
Yes, you see the lessons and the emotions that kind of like blended together to become who you are now and who you walk this earth with that gorgeous smile on your face and lighten up rooms and have highly desired bags. Oh, for the ladies, if I messed up with calling it bags, ladies, I'm really sorry. But no, that's like what would you say would be the biggest kind of lesson that you've taken from your past, from the rape, from your mother going in and out of hospitals, from her murder, unfortunately? Like what do you think the biggest lesson that you pulled forward that you may also pay forward?
I'd say one, life is a series of choices that we get to make.
Yeah.
And the other, and it may sound trite and trivial, but it's my motivator. For the moment that we smile, we cannot be sad.
100%.
Right?
Yeah,
So
it's impossible to.
it's impossible. And
Right.
now it's not if it's one of those half-assed
You're
sarcastic
like,
works. Yeah.
right,
But
right.
you smile from your gut, it changes your physiology, it changes your
Yes,
constitution. And it
100%.
right. And it doesn't mean that, oh, now I'm not sad and I'm all fine.
Right.
Just as crying doesn't mean we're fine either. Because
Mm.
that's I think a big misnomer. People will always say, you can cry, you know. And I think I know people who cry at the drop of a hat and they're
Sure.
not healed.
Right.
But I think the biggest lesson for me is that all of our challenges, just like all of our excitement, is not about getting over, right? It's about marching through. And if we get through things, I think that's when the solutions stick.
So where did you, because I kind of live, which I talk to my squad a lot about this my coaching clients and stuff that we have our faith, right? Or we have what we desire. We back it by faith.
Mhm.
Oh, we back that faith with a persistence that doesn't recognize failure, right? So where did you kind of say, listen, I'm putting my foot down and this is how I'm going to approach life? It's like, I can be happy. I have the responsibility. I believe that responsibility is the ability to respond, right? It's rooted right in the word, right? Not react, but to respond. But what was that moment when you woke up and was like, and we're like, fuck this, or like, just,
Yep,
this is,
yep.
I'm going to do this way.
Yeah, so I've always been a very like giggly, joyful person.
I can see
But
that.
I think in my and interestingly, even that's been a funny journey because for so many years, as I became a young adult, people would say, you shouldn't smile and laugh so much. People won't take you seriously.
Seriously. Hmm.
And that, in fact, I deviated from my career. I decided to become a technical writer and become this serious person, which did not work for me
Yeah.
because what I ultimately discovered in my mid to late 20s was whatever I decide to do, whatever my path is, I have to have the confidence in my intelligence, my intellect, my ambition. But I would say, and it's been coming, but it's honestly in the last 10, 15 years or so,
Mhm.
what I really discovered, and I feel so deeply, is the world in our day to day is not supposed to be this complicated. Big things are complicated. We have big things that we need to do to fix big problems in the world.
Sure.
But we let that filter into our day to day.
Right.
And if we're living our day to day with more joy and laughter and ease and lack of complication,
Sure.
then we have much more strength as a community to endure the bigger real problems.
Right.
And so, one of my favorite expressions, right, is sometimes a cigar is just a cigar.
Right.
I feel like we live in a world now that everything we do, right, is about our past. It's about a problem. The abuse now of the term PTSD, especially my husband is a veteran.
Me too. Yeah.
And so,
Dealt with it.
and so I feel like, again, it sounds so simple. And
Mhm.
because it comes from this happy person,
Right.
it's very easy for people to say, well, that's sweet. In fact, what I hear a lot is that's sweet and funny, but you've never really experienced some real challenges.
Right.
Then they
Right.
hear my story.
Right.
So I feel one of the something that's so important and especially interestingly for entrepreneurs and people who are building businesses, if you can simplify your life in your home, you have again much more strength in your foundation to then be able to build a successful business.
100%. It's the bedrock, right? It's
Yeah,
wherever, especially at home, it's got to be on point.
yeah.
It must be. If not, that you've got to go through that before you take a lot of that out in the world. And it's not fair to the world, right? Especially as
That's
much
so
as we
well
want to
said.
give. It's funny that you say that. Not funny. It's very important that you kind of mentioned that a lot of people live in the past. Like I'll have my clients, my coaching clients, sit in their car if I'm blessed to coach them in person. And I'll say, hey, this rearview mirror right here, it's small for a reason. That's your past. It's a great place to learn from. It's a great place to maybe visit for some good memories and pull them forward, but we can't live there. It's happened. But if you need help there, I don't have an alphabet after my name. That you need a doctor, you need a therapist. But this big windshield in your car, oh my gosh, it's scary. Where are we going? Oh my gosh. But since 2011 on the dashboard, now everybody has it in their pocket is a GPS. And that's where I kind of come in. And if we need to make the turns and whatnot, we'll get you there. But I still can't buckle your seatbelt if you so choose to start the car and drive, right?
Yeah.
So when they get in their car every time, they're like, oh, I get, oh, it's like, it's almost subconsciously I planted it, which so many people live right there. Like try driving like that. I'll tell them, right? It's crazy. So what do you feel then? This is a super blanket question right now, but what do you feel then makes a great entrepreneur?
I think firstly, like this foundation, I believe for an entrepreneur is that we see things that other people don't believe exists, right? That we have answers to questions that haven't been asked. Along the way, anybody who can't see things that don't exist are the people that will tell you it can't be done.
Yes.
So I think one of the first things that makes a great entrepreneur is knowing not to be offended by that, but to stay really steadfast to what you believe.
Yes.
Another, I think, key component, and this one's an interesting one, right? Because one of the first questions people ask you when you're starting your business, especially if you're looking for funding, is what's your exit strategy?
Right.
So immediately we're taking someone from a thought to an end.
Right.
I think when you're building a really serious business, at least one that you're really impassioned about, you're not looking at your exit.
Nope.
Right. People shudder when I say that because
Right.
in fact, 25 years ago, people looked at that as though I didn't understand what building a business was.
Yeah.
But when you go back, especially in my industry, right, 125 years, Coco Chanel, Terry and Hermes, they didn't say, I'm going to build this big brand.
Right.
You work, and so this I would say would be the key.
Right.
Working really hard at what you're in your passion, looking at your goals, and believing that hard work, that dedication, ultimately the end goal will reveal itself.
I love that.
Mhm.
So many people say I'll believe it when I see it, right? People like you and I and other people that I'm blessed to coach and other people that I hang out with, my community, is people, we see it when we believe it, right? So many people, I believe it when I see it. I see it when I believe it. If I believe in something enough, I can see that freaking thing happening. You know what I'm saying? That's where my vision takes over and be like, okay, what do we do with this? And then there's a lot of different nuances that are going to come up and different paths. And I'm blessed to have had the same coach for 19 years. She puts up with me and she holds my feet to the fire and makes that responsibility happen. But like again, you see it when you believe it, 100%, right?
I love that. What's interesting, I had this sort of pivotal moment. I was driving on the 10 freeway with a gal that I used to know.
Mhm.
And I said, what I realized about JAMAH is it's not just a brand, it's destined to become the first ultra luxury made in USA handbag house.
Love it.
And she turned to me and said, well, that won't happen. There'll never be another big house, especially not made in the USA. And my whole intention was made in the USA. And I remember in that moment,
you dropped her off on the 10. I'm kidding.
Well, what helped me is because after I got over that,
Right.
I thought to myself, don't be upset with her.
Right.
She just can't see it.
Yeah,
I can see it.
Yes.
And I think one of the biggest components of entrepreneurship is I thought to myself in that moment, and I'm really patient. I don't care if this takes me 25 years to build.
Patience is huge. As long as you're persistent, patience is cool,
Yeah.
in doing it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So JAMAH, the name, where did it come from?
Oh gosh. So JAMAH has a bevy of meanings. And I always joke, if my last name was Givenchy, perhaps I would have gone with that.
Right.
But I went through a long period of time looking for names, figuring, do I want to be eponymous? I didn't want it to be Nancy Gale. I wanted something that felt that it had sort of depth of meaning. And so I came upon the word JAMAH. I loved what it looked like. I had an immediate idea of the letter J being the representation of the word, and we'd have that on the bags. So some of the meanings, so it's a name for girls derived from the Arabic word for pearl or diamond. And I thought, that's perfect for a luxury brand.
100%.
Another meaning is JAMAH represents community or togetherness.
Okay.
There's a park in the Western Cape of South Africa, called JAMAH Park.
Okay.
And that has been said to represent freedom.
Wow. Okay.
But then I had a really interesting moment. Someone asked me one day if I practiced Buddhism.
Mhm.
And I responded, well, I do not. Why do you ask? And he said, well, you have such a calm energy, yet you are always laughing and giggling and excited. And so it makes sense to me that your brand is called JAMAH. And because he said, perhaps you aren't aware, but in Buddhism, there are certain sounds that represent feelings or words, and the
Mm.
sound JAMAH represents to be. And I thought that was just fascinating to me.
Right.
And my favorite expression has been always been be who you are.
Yeah. And be
And so I
where you
thought
are,
it's
right? Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
And so I thought, well, that's kismet. So that then became my tagline, be who you
Sure.
are. And then
Right.
brand became JAMA. And one thing I love about it is that we are constantly asked what that means, which
Right.
I know is a very good thing.
Oh, absolutely. It's amazing. Like even when all those people that will tell you begin with the end in mind, Stephen Covey's number 4 rule. Like when you have a branded name like that, you can, if you ever wanted to sell the company way down the road, it's there. It's not like you're selling your name. So they're taking the
Yes.
company, right? So which is a brilliant move on your part. So I'm sure you get approached by entrepreneurs that want to become at your level and stuff like that. I'm sure you get bombarded with questions, but is there one question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
Yes. And it's sort of the theory of overnight success.
Yeah, I'm an overnight success that took 25 years, right? Yeah,
Yeah, yes. And I wish they would dig into that because,
yeah,
again, we've been in my industry, right? Fast fashion,
right.
in the tech world, right? Everything is moving like that. So I wish people would dig into the idea of overnight success because one of my favorite conversations, and especially now while we live in this world of this idea of balance,
Mhm.
which I don't understand.
I
I'm
don't
a big
either.
fan of blend.
Yeah,
Like we just blend all
yeah,
the components of our life together. But I
I love
think we
that
need to
too.
have
Yeah,
more conversations about the joy of hard work.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that
so many people want balance. You put 10 pounds here, 10 pounds here. It's like zero. Like I believe in harmony. Like my book that's coming out, another shout out, it's called
oh,
Harmonic Hustle, right? And
oh wow.
basically, like I love jazz. Me and my Susan, we love jazz. We like to seek out little holes in the wall and listen to jazz. But when I'm with clients, my clients out there, thank you for like hearing this out again. But I'll say, okay, your God or spiritual is the drums, right? Your personal might be the guitar, piano is the family, community is the horns, and on through work, money, living environment, health and recreation, right? Each one of them is a different instrument. If one of them's out of tune, it sounds like junk. But if you could just tune up that one area of your life that
Oh,
needs it the most, you bring back harmony. And I'm not saying you have to be Beethoven or Eddie Van Halen or anything like that, right? Or Louis Armstrong. You don't have to be that, but just get it back into harmony and blending, like you said, is where I believe that the magic really happens and that you can progress. If everyone's like, I got to get this, then where do you go from there? There's no more notes to play. There's nothing else to do. So
I love that.
thank you. So going into this, then maybe this will segue into this question is, have you seen the movie Back to the Future?
Yes.
Okay. Can't believe it's 40 years old tomorrow. That movie is 40 years old tomorrow. So let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly. Let's go back to the Double Deuce, the 22-year-old Nancy. Okay, what knowledge nuggets would you drop on her? Not so much to change anything, right? But to maybe shorten her learning curve, blast through maybe a little bit quicker. What might you tell her?
I think the first thing would be, and it sounds so commonplace, but the idea of not worrying about what people think.
Yes, thank you.
And but in a little bit of a different way. Because there's this idea people always say, oh, the great thing about getting older is you stop caring about what people think.
Mm,
I always want to care about what people think because I don't want to be a dick,
thank you. No,
right?
yeah,
But I had to put aside what they thought when it came to the building of my business
sure.
because this vision was so embedded that I knew that any of those conversations would really take me away from my goal and my mission. However, I also had to build a place to hear what people that I found successful thought.
Mm,
Even then, though,
Right.
That didn't mean that they knew better and more about my vision.
Right. Right. It's so funny because it's not funny, but like I make 2 New Year's resolutions every year. Like
Mm-hmm.
one, make someone smile every single day. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And two, unless I've hurt you, disrespect you, owe you, or judge you, I give zero shits about what you think about me. I don't care. If I did one of those things, like you just kind of said, be nice, but don't give energy to what people think, I believe is what you said. So it's that's what it is. I believe that success in anything is buried there. Whether it's
Yeah.
success in relationships, success in your business, success in your studies, your sports, it's like if I've hurt you, I will apologize profusely. Hopefully you accept it. But if I
Yeah.
didn't, I don't care. I got my beat, my drum, it's going, and this is the way I'm marching. And I do it with guidance from people that I trust that want to be part of that squad of mine, right? And I can see
Yes.
you as being the same. So how does Nancy want her dash remembered then? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life date and death date. How does Nancy want her dash remembered?
I want to be remembered for my smile.
Okay.
That's
And lighten
it.
up the room, right?
That's it.
And if you're
Yeah.
watching on Vimeo or YouTube, she's stunning, people. Like she's
Mhm.
awesome. Her energy is just flowing through. And I could just talk to you all day.
I,
This is awesome. But somebody that remembered that smiled probably gave a whole hell of a lot too.
mhm.
Right? Yeah. You're
Yeah.
so humble. But yeah, you gave a lot of your time and energy and resources, but that's what you have to kind of get somewhere. So Nancy, what do you think, if anything, people might misunderstand the most about you?
You know, it's funny, sort of just turn that off. We're on sort of on point with that because someone smiles and is happy and exudes joy, that you don't know about them. We actually
Right.
have a program in Ambition, our nonprofit, called You Don't Know About Me.
Hmm.
And I think I have spent years and again as an adult in this sort of segment of my life have learned to not put too much weight on that, but I've spent years, and maybe some of it's just me, but sort of battling that because I'm this happy, joyful person.
Right.
Perhaps there are things that I don't know, understand, challenges that I
Right.
haven't been through. So I would say people, what's been most understood is that the look and the excitement don't equal what I haven't been through.
You're a savage. They
Mhm.
don't see that. All they see is the smile. They see the end product.
Yeah.
I'm blessed to coach a lot of athletes, a Super Bowl winner, Major League Baseball player that won the World Series. Like they don't see the reps that they put in to get to where they're at, right?
Yeah.
They don't see what you've did in the background. They might not take you seriously, you know?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
was there ever a time, okay, and I say this with all due respect, but was there ever a time when, because I know a lot of females that are on the come up, right? That overplay something to be believed. They'll like play way more into it to be believed, but then they realize that they don't really ever have to do that. Did you ever do that? Like actually maybe embellish or anything like that? Like I did. I'll tell you right now, I faked it till I made it. So I'm not gonna lie to you, but like for a woman, it's a different route to be taken seriously. Unfortunately, we're still there. But did you ever kind of do that?
I mean, I literally I knew I wanted to be in the fashion industry my
Sure.
entire life. And I
Right.
became a technical writer to show people that I could be serious. I worked with Bank of America, Transamerica, I mean, Ernst and Young, everything that was not me.
Right.
Uh, and so I changed my entire life to sort of appease that notion. So if you think that I'm not serious enough, if you can't take me seriously, I will change my entire career and
Right.
become that person who's sort of affiliated in the very left brain world.
Sure.
So I feel like I sort of told the biggest lie and the biggest embellishment is to the point where I changed my entire
Just to
trajectory.
prove something to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's stepping out. That's bold. That's bolder than anything else, to be honest with you. So, what is Nancy's definition of a life well lived?
A life where you wake up every day and you, without thought, look around and take in the greatness that you have,
right?
that you can smile every day, no matter what you're going through, that you can, again, be those two things at once. So I can live with a life of big challenges, daily challenges,
Yeah.
struggles with my business, struggles with anything in the world, but that I can go to bed at night saying, gosh, I've got a lot.
You're going to want to give more and more and more to the world. Like I'm a big believer when I die, my inbox won't be empty. I don't care if
Mhm.
I'm 90, but I think I'm always going to be giving and moving forward because it's more fun. It's just super
Yeah.
fun to do that.
Yes.
I've just found out. I mean, you make some serious like connections when you're that way. You make your squad of people, you're flying with eagles instead of clucking with chickens. It's kind of like that happens, right? And it's just living that life of everyone wants to get to live in a life of options and not obligations, but there's stuff that has to be done within
Yes.
that. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. We are back. And Nancy, if I'm over on the left coast, I know I have a speaking engagement in Santa Monica in a couple months. So maybe I don't know if you're close to there or not, but like we can kind of meet up, enjoy a coffee or something. And I could probably ask you some of these questions when we talk 15, 20 minutes. But today you have 5 seconds and with no explanations. And I promise you they can all be answered that way. You ready to level up?
Okay.
Here we go. What is the best leveling up advice Nancy's ever received?
Received is it's a little exercise called STOP.
Okay.
Stands for settle down, take a breath, own it, poof.
And
Do
gone.
that.
I love
It's
it.
for 30, 40 seconds,
Yeah,
5, 6 times a day, and it's
that's
the
beautiful.
best reset ever.
Love it. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Smiling.
Awesome. You see me maybe walking down the street or an event, and you're like, Fergie, man, he looks like he's in his doldrums a little bit. Is there a book that you've read that kind of like flipped that switch in your brain a little bit that you might hand me?
Yeah, definitely. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate
Child,
Factory.
if I did. Love it. Love it. Your
We
most
can do
commonly
anything.
used emoji, if any, when you text.
Oh,
Ooh,
the happy face, the
awesome.
star eyes.
Nick, nicknames growing up?
Pollyanna Disneyland.
Love it. Love it. So, do you have any hidden talents or superpowers that nobody knows about maybe until now?
People who don't know me are perhaps a bit surprised that I jumped out of an airplane over 1,000 times, and I am a
That's good enough for me. Perfect. Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Monopoly.
All right. Headline for your life.
Oh, headline for my life. Happiness.
Beautiful. So, if you could take a time machine and
Mhm.
go 20 years forward or any time in your past, but always come back to the now, right? Within 48 hours, you could spend 2 days in the future or any time in your past. Which would you choose?
The future.
Me too. We kind of see what's going on. Go to ice cream flavor.
Chocolate.
All right. There's a sandwich called the Pollyanna. Build that sandwich for me. What are we eating?
Cheese. Lots of meat.
All right.
Mustard.
Beautiful. Love it. Favorite charity and or organization you'd like to give your time and or money to, which is probably ambition, but is there any other ones?
Ambition.
Okay.
Without a
Beautiful.
doubt. Mhm.
Last question. You can elaborate on this one a little bit, but best decade of music, 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
Oh, gosh. Ah, 60s.
60s. All right. Very cool. Very cool. We talked off mic, so I can understand why that might be like your
Yeah.
jam there. Love it. So, how can we find you?
2 websites, JAMAH.com, JAMAH, and ambition.org.
All right, squad. Here's ambition, which we're going to get into both of these a little bit, but JAMA. I like, you're right, that J on there it's a beautiful J. That's very
Ah.
nice. That's cool. What a fancy schmancy stuff. This is awesome. Good
Made in
stuff.
the USA.
Yes, squad. And if you have a lady has a birthday or anything coming up, please visit the site. It will be in the show notes. Excellent. And the story behind you building this is just amazing. Thank you, Nancy. And how about ambition? Talk to us about the ambition.
Oh, goodness. So when JAMA was about 10 years old, the one thing I knew that was missing, and not even necessarily from my life, but just from my world, was working with disadvantaged teenagers, just something I'd
Love
always
that.
wanted to do. I always felt like I grew up with a lot of access and exposure.
Mhm.
So I wanted a place, and it's interesting with JAMA working with clients of great means. I always thought, gosh, what happens when you don't grow up that way? Like, who gives you access and exposure? And that for me was the real difference between, right, the haves and the have nots. It's not
Mm.
dollars, it's access and
Right.
exposure.
Right.
And there was a big trend, right, with cause marketing. And what I felt like was a lot of companies were doing the find a cause, any cause, act like you care, and then make
Right.
sell more bags.
Right.
But I don't want to do that. I want to start a program that is so intrinsically connected that one cannot survive without the other. Because I knew if I started a nonprofit, that my time I'd start fighting for my time, and that when things got really, really busy, the nonprofit would fail. That's
Right.
just the way life goes. So I thought I want to hold my feet to the fire. So I want to start a program that depends on my livelihood and vice versa.
They merged in a sense, blended in a sense, right? Like he
Yes.
said, okay, very
And
cool.
instead of making it where when we sell a bag, we'll donate, I'm just going to build a really successful company that provides the bandwidth to support my nonprofit.
Love it.
And the way I want to connect the pieces is everybody who works with JAMA will volunteer for ambition.
Ooh,
So that's the real connection for us.
love it.
Everybody that works with me in one way or another contributes to ambition.
Got you.
And now what's been fantastic is a lot of my motor car collection clients are now starting to donate to and volunteer for ambition.
Wow.
So it's
Okay.
become really holistic.
Got you. So you are actually taking some of the proceeds, I call them proceeds, from the JAMA and
Mhm.
kind of built ambition, right? So you didn't really have to say, okay, I'm going to put this much of a bag, which they're very well priced, but they're for the certain person out there.
Yes.
You're not saying, okay, I'm taking this part and donating it towards ambition. So you wanted to build a structure of your company that really could carry ambition along for the ride then, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But I also had to be very mindful of the times that are tough with JAMA. So like I had to figure out all the different ways that ambition would still be able to flourish no
Sure.
matter what was happening at JAMA,
Gotcha.
but at the same time for JAMA to be carrying ambition.
Right. So you have a
Mhm.
kind of a fail safe in there in a sense, where if like
Yeah,
something happens, that we're still at least getting donations, scholarships, stuff like
yeah,
that into ambition. Okay, I
yeah.
love that platform. That's beautiful. And squad, I'm going to put ambition kind of at the top of the show notes. And once you just go in there and click on the donate button, she makes it very easy. And it is there a minimum, or can somebody just donate anything they
Oh
want?
gosh,
Okay.
$5,
Okay. Yeah, no,
five
it works. Yeah.
$1,000.
Okay, beautiful. And then they have scholarship funds, student growth and entrepreneurship initiatives, program and curriculum operations, the use of your proceeds. So 100% of anything goes right into ambition, right? That is donated,
If
correct?
you generate there, and it goes to everything from programming, our volunteer programs, our scholarships, everything it takes to run. And every day that could be something different, but
Gotcha.
it's all in the name of ambition and the growth of ambition.
Gotcha. Can people donate anonymously on it too?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
very good. Okay, beautiful. That's fantastic. And squad, again, all that will be in the show notes. And I'm sorry we took us a little long. I just love talking to entrepreneurs that have built companies out there, squad. So I'm sure you picked up a lot. But Miss Nancy, can you please kindly leave us with one last knowledge nugget that we can take with us, internalize, and take action on?
Yes. Approach your business and your life with power, not pity.
Wow, that's strong. That's strong. And squad,
Mm.
I got a free masterclass kind of on entrepreneurship by my really good new friend here, Nancy. Again, Van, thank you so much for the introduction. But Nancy believes that day by day, life gets more exciting. She has a company that's 25 years old and followed that up with another one that's 15 years old. She feels that she's lived an extremely charmed life full of opportunities, but there was some roadblocks out there, but she didn't let that stop us. She said, we are going to endure challenges. So she wants to remind you about that, but they do not dictate their constitution and the truths that we are held to. So be vigilant about guarding your happiness and what you want to do with your life. Life is a series of choices that we make. So again, which goes back to questions that you ask yourself, squad, that I've talked about a lot. Ask yourself powerful questions. It's going to make you really dig deep and make those really solid choices. My friend Nancy is living a life of intention, not attention. She's not out there going, look at me, look at me. She's out there really building something through ambition that's really providing for our youth. I mean, she's planting trees she's never going to sit in the shade of. She's going to be remembered kind of as somebody that slid across home plate, bumped, bruised, had a lot of stuff in her life that was not so favorable, but she did not let that stop us, right? She's building a brand that will be the first extra luxury brand that is fully USA, baby. And I will love that. And lastly, she reminded us, approach your business with power and never pity. And that you are the epitome of that, Nancy. Thank you so much for coming on. You've leveled up your health. You leveled up your wealth. You gave us some serious knowledge nuggets here. You're in your varsity squad letter here at Time to Shine today. You're absolutely stunning, beautiful, awesome, powerful businesswoman. And that's the people we like to align with here. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Awesome sauce. Chat soon. Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today, proudly brought to you by Inlet Properties and Investments. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on the Time to Shine Today podcast, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you'd like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also, there you will see our recommended resources. We hope you will help support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have been listening to, it'd be great if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's your time to shine.